There are wired devices, there are wireless devices. Like, what have you seen more in the industry, and what is the state today from your perspective?
You also need to run MQTT broker server. Okay. No one tells you about this, and Home Assistant does not include one.
I just had a question before you said it.
Yeah, it would be fun, like weekend project for anyone who likes smart home.
Hi everyone, we are welcoming you at our podcast, IoT podcast, and it's as usual,
Ivan
and Alexandra from Staex. Remember to subscribe to our channel because we produce these videos every week, so you can always connect with us and request any topic that you would like to discuss with us on this platform. So today we will be discussing very interesting article. This is an article that has been published by Datanami. This is a magazine about data science, AI, and advanced analytics by Rob Enderle, and the topic will be wired versus unwired and the coming massive changes in IoT provisioning. We particularly picked this topic because actually I was driving a car in Berlin and they were discussing solutions for users for smart home automation. Somebody said on the radio, like, just hearing I need to connect my device, people always think about wires. And that was actually interesting for me. How do you map devices? You know, there are wired devices, there are wireless devices. Like, what have you seen more in the industry, and what is the state today from your perspective?
Well, most of the time it depends on the device itself. Like IP cameras, mostly wired. Mm-hmm. And if we talk about routers are also mostly wired devices. At least you have to put a wire to go to the internet. However, we see how the industry learns about 5G and 4G, and that's also a good option for them. We know that some companies use both wired and wireless communication. So it's both cable and like landline internet and cellular internet, either 4G or 5G, depending on the use case. And they use it for high availability. If the cable fails, they switch to mobile internet. And they prefer cable because probably because they transmit a lot of data and it's just more cheaper for them to do it over the cable than to do it over wireless connection. And if we talk about like small devices like smart switches, smart lights, they of course they all use Wi-Fi mostly. I mean wireless mostly, but most of the time it's Wi-Fi. Sometimes it's Zigbee, and sometimes it's Bluetooth. But most of the devices are Wi-Fi because it's easy.
Is it also true, because you covered the topic of Wi-Fi and Zigbee and other protocols? Is it true to say that today for a user, the user would like to put some home automation set together? Like, is it true to say there is no one protocol, but rather kind of a mixture that has to be put together? How does it look for normal users today?
If we talk about regular people who want to have like smart home, they choose between Wi-Fi, wired if they have some large device, and Bluetooth and I believe Zigbee is protocol. I don't know if like the medium over which it works, but this is definitely the protocol that is popular in this use case. And like the most popular protocol is of course MQTT, because this is how the devices communicate asynchronously between each other or between the control center device. Like it can be just a computer with Home Assistant running.
Right.
Yeah. So between Home Assistant and the device.
So we can summarize that there is still some complexity because there is no like one standard which all the devices support, but rather like, you know, if we talk about home assistants, right, there is like, I guess if you go for affordable versions, if you buy a set by IKEA, they definitely use something different and they have their own gateway, right? So it's kind of, there is a lot of fragmentation with regard to this.
Yeah, this is mostly due to vendors using their own proprietary protocols for whatever reasons. Sometimes these are like valid reasons because they want their devices to work as efficiently as possible on the battery. And yeah, at the time that they designed their devices, there were no protocols that, like open source protocols, open standards for that. So they wrote their own because there were no option. And right now they just don't want to transition to these devices. And yeah, if you have a lot of proprietary devices in your home, they most likely connect to the cloud, or they use their own control device. Again, vendor specific.
Is there any like, you know, one-stop shop for users today to have something, you know, a little bit more flexible, a little bit, you know, something that has more adoption, or, you know, users are still forced to kind of have like a, you know, Frankenstein, put all these things together, more or less?
The best bet is to install Home Assistant on one of your computers. You can install it even on Raspberry Pi. Then you need to carefully choose your smart home devices that are compatible with this open source system. There are really a lot of devices that are compatible, but the one that I like, the ones that I like is Tasmota based. Tasmota is open source firmware for such devices, for microcontrollers. It uses MQTT to talk to Home Assistant. So if you want to use Tasmota, you also need to run MQTT broker server. No one tells you about this, and Home Assistant does not include one.
I just had a question before you said it, because you said you already mentioned MQTT, and I was like, how much the user has to interact with MQTT actually?
Most of the time it's one-click install. Of course, it's not as secure as 10-click install. Installation with highest, like with all security enabled, with the encryption, with certificates.
Which we highly recommend.
Yeah, most of the time you can probably ignore this in home network if your network is really not very attractive to hackers. Like you have a few switches, like light switches. No one cares about this. But yeah, most like if you want everything to be like top notch, super secure, even in your home network, which is understandable desire. Then you have to go to some length to configure this securely. By default, it's not secure.
And there are lots of conversations between users about the pattern where the hackers can actually track, like if they see that the lights are off for more than 2 days, maybe people are on vacation, etc. So I don't know whether you heard it, but like, you know, people talk a lot about this particular scenario, how this kind of home systems can actually be reused or misused by robbers or something like this. So in this case,
yeah, I also heard something about this. My idea was to just use simulation to counter that. Just randomly switch lights like on and off. It would be fun. Yeah, it would be fun, like weekend project for anyone who likes smart home actually. But for this, you probably need yet another tool which is called Node-RED, which can be used for automation, but it's lower level. Like you it's like Home Assistant is like UI, mostly configurable through UI, and with Node-RED you have to program something.
Understand. So particularly in this article, what I really liked is the connection towards the two worlds that started to being developed. And of course, there are giant companies that are, active in these worlds. So one direction, because this article covers, wired versus wireless, is Cisco approach. I mean, there are more companies, of course, but just to make it simple, that are pushing more power over the Ethernet. So basically, the wired approach over Ethernet. And as we discussed, there are advantages in both of them and disadvantages. And there is a wireless, which is more pushed by SoC manufacturers like Qualcomm, because this is kind of a different set of companies. So how do you see this? Because basically it can be also generational approach, and of course we know that the most packets are lost, like for instance in Wi-Fi networks, right? Because it's wireless connection, so you always kind of have to deal with this packet loss if it's wireless. What is your kind of take on wire versus wireless and how this will develop in the future?
There are multiple things to unfold here. First of all, we are talking not about like smart home users, but about enterprise users, since this is Cisco and IP cameras and Qualcomm and so how it works in the enterprise. What we know is that these companies, since they are really, really large, they offer you full solution, like end-to-end solution for the connectivity. I don't know if they offer the devices like IP cameras themselves, but they offer routers for sure. So how it looks, they offer you a router, they offer you maybe some access points, some additional hardware which is needed for your particular setup, and you might need several routers because of your physical configuration of the location of the building or something else. And they, together with the routers, they sell you the software. Usually it's a VPN for connectivity, for providing connectivity through the internet to this system, because you want to get access to your cameras and see at least to see the picture. And they also probably, I don't know for sure, they probably offer you some cloud-based service that can ingest the data from the cameras and do something with it, like detecting movement or recording, saving recordings in the central location, etc., etc. And another point that we need to unfold here is like wireless versus wired. So what is the difference? I would say there are different use cases where there are a set of use cases where wireless shines, and there are a set of use cases where cables shine. And the distinguishing factor is, of course, the number of the devices. Because Wi-Fi works using channels. Each channel is slightly different frequency, and the speed of your Wi-Fi depends on frequency, obviously. And this number of channels is limited because the Wi-Fi range of frequency is limited. And you have this physical limitation on how many frequencies how many channels and how many distinct frequencies you can have in one physical place. So if you install 100 cameras in one room, probably this wouldn't work for Wi-Fi. And you need a wired connection for that. At the same time, like installing 100 cameras in one room, probably it's an overkill. So I don't really know let's say what I said is quite theoretical conclusion, but like I don't know any practical example where this could be an issue. But this is definitely a real physical issue that you need to take into account, especially if you have like some not IP cameras, but maybe light switches or smart lights, for example, with Wi-Fi. It's easy to put 100 lights in one room.
it's very different for just normal users that want to automate their homes, and it's also very different for enterprises, because I think we can see more cables in enterprise setups with industrial routers where they need kind of more data throughput, etc. And also again, coming to wireless protocols where there is still some packet loss and things like this. So probably for certain use cases also wireless protocols are better. So just to summarize, you would say that there is no real kind of full transition towards the wireless world. We're gonna still have the mixture because just the use cases that are coming towards us are so different, right? There will be for sure something with metaverse where you have a lot of traffic. And so we're probably gonna see the mixture between wireless and wired worlds.
Definitely. I would say just one more point, like the packet loss.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's common in wireless, at least for Wi-Fi. At least it's not visible. Well, it's not exactly packet loss. It's like interference of the channels.
Right.
Mostly, this is the biggest problem, not the actual technology, because Wi-Fi is quite advanced right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the use case dictates which technology is better, as I said. So yeah, it fully depends on the use case.
Great. Okay, so thank you so much for discussing this topic with us. Again, just to summarize, we think there will be still a mixture, and both technologies are viable and just fit. They have a better fit in different use cases.
Yeah, and also we have LoRaWAN, but it's for industry, and it's a whole another topic.
If you would like us to cover a LoRaWAN topic, please comment under this video.
Yeah.
You wanted to say something about LoRaWAN?
Not really. It's mostly for enthusiasts. If we talk about like regular people, and in industry it is used heavily.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's worth another video.
All right, so we have a new topic. Thank you so much for being with us, and see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you.
We know that connectivity for IoT is very complicated. You have to deal with a lot of DNS issues, firewall issues, port forwarding issues. So please subscribe to our channel where you can learn more, where we also cover the latest hacks and how you can improve your infrastructure to save yourself in this very dangerous world of cybersecurity. Staex provides the most secure public network where companies can connect their IoT devices easily and forget about their problems with cybersecurity once and for all.